One thing that is difficult about a lead claim is everything that this plaintiff has experienced in their life is potentially relevant. Every medical record, every school performance, every sports performance can be relevant to these claims. So when you're working with your paralegals, when you're working with your associates, and they say, well, what medical records do we get? You can't just say, you know, does they have a prior back problem? Do they have this? And we can eliminate everything else. No, everything that child has experienced in their life is potentially relevant. Because when you get to trial, what they're going to say to you is, everything negative about this child is related to their lead exposure. And they're getting away with it at times. And so what we've got to do is, again, we've got to look at, are there environmental factors that could explain this? And here's just several examples. Are there genetic factors? We all know that's an issue. We all understand that. It may be difficult to present in some forums, but you have to overcome that. You have to look them in the eye and tell them this is a factor. And every plaintiff's expert, every plaintiff's lawyer will agree at some level it's a factor. But it's just how you present it to a jury, whether you can present it effectively. So you have to develop that very aggressively through discovery. Here's other ones. Are there psychological factors? Are there psychological issues? Are there medical factors? And those are going to be detailed by later presentations. I won't go into the specifics. But if you have individuals that are experiencing psychological issues, it's so critical to show the jury what are the likely causes of psychological issues. And call professionals in that field, not just someone who's also dealing with the lead issue and dealing with the neurological issue. But psychological, what's explaining this? Why is this child acting out? Why does this child have a conduct disorder? Is it because he hasn't had a father for 25 years? Is it because he's been raised in an environment where there's been violence involved? But explain that to a jury. That lead, there's no good relationship between those two issues. And it's not just, well, there's studies out there saying children who have some lead exposure may be more likely to have some conduct issues. That's just not science that's specific to a child. And you have to really bring that to life. When you try the case that the plaintiff is being unfairly labeled as brain damaged, which will have a negative impact on the child, which again is the case that from a defense perspective you can have the most passion to try. Because what you do is you put the plaintiff's counsel in the position of telling this jury how poor this beautiful young child is doing. And you can embrace that child and say, this child is doing so well. And the last thing this child needs to hear is that he or she doesn't have a shot. And I had a case that went to trial where one of the experts who just honestly offended me, and I hope offended the jury, was basically telling this jury that this beautiful young lady could not be a clerk at Walmart. And we met that young lady and we talked to her on the stand, and she was active and she was speaking well. She had done well at times in school. And for them to say this child could not get that kind of job was just insulting. And they've got to be called to task on that.